Today on The Spin, undefeated Indiana's big test against the Buckeyes. Will Colorado continue their playoff march? And the Harbaugh boys are at it again. It's all next on The Spin. Hello, my friends. Ali Melendez here, and welcome to Sports Insider's The Spin. I'm so happy you're joining me today. Well, just a few weeks left in the college football season, and of course, there are all kinds of storylines and possibilities as we head down the road to this first 12-team playoff. Now, the last few weeks have pretty much included some pre-playoff games as teams jockey for position, and this weekend will be more of the same as Indiana visits the shoe and Colorado Buffaloes keep chugging along on their way to a possible Big 12 championship and of course a seat at the table in the playoffs. Now, the boys will get to all that in just a bit, but I've got to take a moment to shout out our friends at BetOnline. Now, all of our odds here on The Spin are provided by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and number one source for everything football. I mean, everything. That, of course, includes odds on who will make the 12-team college football playoff, all of this weekend's games, and plenty more. So be sure to head on over to BetOnline and kisses to BetOnline. We appreciate you. All right, well, let's get to it, shall we? Here with a look at the biggest games on the college slate, including that Indiana-Ohio State matchup, which I'm excited about. It is time for our own Drew Butler and Gabe Ikard. Welcome, fellas. What's going on?
Thanks so much, Allie. Great to be back with you. Drew Butler here alongside my man, Gabe Ikard, taking a look at week 13 of the college football season. Gabe, it's crazy to think there's just 2 weeks left in the regular season. Thanksgiving is next week. Best time of the year, no doubt. This is The Spin Sports Insider, and we have got some awesome games to discuss coming up this weekend. Let's start with a top 5 matchup in the Big Ten. Gabe, number 5, Indiana, heading to the Horseshoe to take on the second-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Noon kickoff, Eastern time, over on Fox. How about Ohio State, a huge 13-point favorite here? This total sits at 52 points.
I cannot wait for this football game. All the discussion about Indiana, who have they played? Are they good? We're about to find out. And this is a Big Ten championship game, play-in game. And there's so much on the line for both teams. But to me, it feels like all the pressure's on Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
And that creates an interesting dynamic for this football game. I think when you look at the matchup, Indiana winning the turnover battle is going to be crucial for them in this game. That defense for the Hoosiers has been so good up to this point, and they need to be great in this one. They have to force Will Howard into making some mistakes. I'm a little unsure if Indiana will be able to run it consistently against that Ohio State defense, but I do expect Curtis Rourke to go into that stadium and play well. I think this is going to be a close football game. I understand Ohio State's a more talented team, but I think Curt Cignetti and Indiana just have something special this season. I expect it to be close, so I'm going to take the points with the Hoosiers.
Yeah, tough to look away from the points here. 13, that is such a large number, especially when you take into consideration what Indiana has accomplished this year. Yeah, they're 5th in the nation. Yes, they're undefeated straight up, but they're also one of the best teams against the spread in the country, Gabe. 8-2 ATS on the season. And you mentioned it, this is a de facto play-in game for the Big Ten championship to see which one of these teams will take on Oregon. And guess where the Big Ten championship game is? Indianapolis, Indiana. Yeah, if the Hoosiers win this game, that's going to be 75% Hoosier fans cheering on their football team in the Big Ten championship against the Oregon Ducks. Keep in mind, Indiana off a bye week as well, so the Hoosiers do have a rest advantage here. For Ohio State, they've just won 29 straight against Indiana in football. However, Indiana 9-4 against the spread against Ohio State since 2011. When you look at the teams Ohio State has played, and then you take a look at Indiana's defense is more comparable, Gabe, to Nebraska and Penn State. And Ohio State's offense struggled a little bit in those 2 games, only averaging 20.5 points in those contests. I just think this is too many points. Indiana should be able to keep it within 2 scores here. Curtis Rourke, Hoosiers quarterback, has this offense playing at an elite level. That's the strength of head coach Curt Cignetti as well. I got a great stat for you, Gabe. You ready? The last top 5 ranked undefeated double-digit underdog to win as an outright winner. Auburn against Alabama, 2014 kick 6 game. This is a very, very unique matchup. I love Indiana here. Give me the 13 points with the Hoosiers. All right, let's head down to the SEC. A resurgent Florida Gators team is finishing out the season strong. They welcome in the Ole Miss Rebels. It's a noon Eastern kick over on ABC. Ole Miss, a 10-point favorite. This total, 55.5.
It feels like Florida has an unusual amount of momentum for a 5-5 football team right now. They're coming to this game, and it feels like that team, that program, and that fan base are energized because of DJ Lagway and how he's looking at the quarterback position. However, speaking of re-energize, Ole Miss coming off the bye after beating Georgia. I can't imagine that the Rebels could feel any better than they do heading into this football game. And I think they have the better offensive line and defensive line. I also think they have the better skill guys. I also think they have the better quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think Ole Miss will have gained an incredible amount of confidence and belief after what they did against Georgia. I think they're going to be healthier. I'm expecting Jackson Dart to have a big day in the swamp. I'm going to lay the points with the Rebels. I think Ole Miss has found something. I think they believe, and I think right now they're one of the best teams in the country.
Shocking to me that this game is a noon kickoff. You got to think Ole Miss is looking at it as a dodged bullet, considering you could have had a night game at the Swamp where things can definitely get a little interesting. And Florida coming up that huge win a week ago at home against LSU. The Gators have new life behind the play of freshman quarterback DJ Lagway, as you mentioned. Ole Miss coming off that bye week. They are in a great position to make the college football playoff. Lane Kiffin earlier this week even making statements saying, hey, coaches don't even want to play in their conference championship game, especially with how Ole Miss is positioned. Florida, however, 3-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 3 home games in the Swamp. Lane Kiffin is 12-4-1 against the spread as a road favorite since 2019. And a nice bump for Ole Miss here, Gabe. Rebels wide receiver Trey Harris, one of the best in the nation, expected to be available this weekend. However, Florida has beaten both teams that Ole Miss has lost to this season by double digits, a little transitive property there. The last time a top 10 Ole Miss team played in the Swamp, Florida whooped them 38-10. Dogs are barking. Give me the Florida Gators plus 10 at home in the Swamp. All right, let's get a little Big 12 action here. The Colorado Buffaloes taking on the Kansas Jayhawks. This game is an Arrowhead Stadium game, 3:30 p.m. Eastern kick over on Fox. Colorado, a 2.5-point favorite. Don't look now. The Buffaloes have a clear path to the Big 12 championship game.
They've got everything to play for, which is why I'm laying the points with Colorado.
Yeah.
Best quarterback in the game, best player in the game. Feel like I've said that a lot this year when we've talked about Colorado games. And while I do think Kansas is playing their best football of the season, I just think Colorado's a better football team. I think that defense, which has really surprised me, it's stepped up. It's not an elite unit, but they have done a nice job of getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. They're holding up their end of the bargain. And then Shadur Sanders, Travis Hunter, all the other weapons they have on that offense, man, they are fun to watch, and they move the ball and score points. I have all the respect in the world for Lance Leipold and that coaching staff for Kansas. I just think Colorado's the better football team, and you're not going to have some massive home field advantage with the game being at Arrowhead. So I'm laying them with the Buffaloes.
Yeah, it seems like Colorado is dead set on a mission to get to the Big 12 championship game and make a splash potentially in the college football playoff. Travis Hunter right now, the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. And I just love the efficiency in which this offense plays with. You know Shadur Sanders is going to get his, yet nobody can seem to stop them. And the defense, Gabe, Colorado's defense has stepped up in a major way this season. I know all the love goes to the skill position and the quarterbacks on the offensive side of the ball, but you got to throw your flowers to the Buffalo's defense. They have really stood in there and allowed Colorado to have the season that they're having so far. Lance Leipold in Kansas, they had a really rough stretch in the early to mid parts of the season, but they've woken up as of late. 2 straight victories against ranked opponents. They knocked off undefeated Iowa State. They beat BYU a week ago. I don't really love that the game is an Arrowhead. You said it. Not going to be a great home field advantage. I don't know how you could fade Colorado at this point, so I'm on the same side as you. I'll lay 2.5, less than a field goal with Colorado this weekend. Okay, let's finish things up with a little primetime action. 7 p.m. kickoff over on NBC. Undefeated Army taking on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Gabe, this game is at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Notre Dame, a 14-point favorite. This total, 45.
I love my country. I love the troops.
Uh-oh.
But I don't think this is going to go well for Army.
Oh.
And I've been incredibly impressed with Bryson Daly and that offense. It's been so fun to watch Army be undefeated up to this point. I love that they're part of the conversation. Like, this is exactly what I was hoping the 12-team playoff would be. We're talking about Army possibly making the playoff.
Oh, yeah.
But Notre Dame's familiar with the triple option. They play Army. They play Navy. They have a plan for this attack. Nothing's going to catch them off guard. And then Riley Leonard's playing the best ball of his career. That Notre Dame offense has found something. They're playing with a ton of confidence. I think that they have found a rhythm, and I think that that team has become the best version of itself. Run game is looking good, and Leonard has thrown it the best he's ever thrown it in his career. I just think the Irish are too talented for Army. I'm going to lay the points with Notre Dame, and I don't like doing it. I don't. But I think Army's going to be outmatched in this one.
Yeah, fascinating matchup here. Historically great series as well. However, Notre Dame has won 15 straight against the Cadets from Army over in West Point. In top 25 matchups, Gabe, when the line is 14 points or more, the favorite is 59% against the spread since 2010. Keep in mind, though, Marcus Freeman has lost 3 times outright as a 14-plus point favorite at Notre Dame. And, of course, since that loss earlier in the season, an inexplicable loss to Northern Illinois, the Irish have really turned things around. They're 7-1 against the spread since that loss to the Huskies of Northern Illinois. Army, though, undefeated this year, 9-0. Quarterback Bryson Daly, yes, of course, it's a triple option attack. Over 1,000 rushing yards, 21 rushing touchdowns, and 7 passing touchdowns in addition to that production on the ground. Look, this line open, Notre Dame as a 17-point favorite, quickly dropped down to 14. Shows you that the respected action is coming in early on Army. Yes, that is a fact. Army averaging 420 yards per game so far this season, Gabe. Yes, Notre Dame's defense is solid. 2 touchdowns, too many, though. I love the underdogs this weekend at Yankee Stadium. Head coach Jeff Monken is going to have the boys ready to go. I think they can grind this game out. They're going to do what Navy couldn't do, and Army will keep this one within 14 points. So give me 14 with Army against Notre Dame. Yeah, man, next week, look, it's Thanksgiving week. It's going to be insane because so much is going to be on the line with the college football playoff just a couple of short weeks away. It's been awesome. You know, to keep it locked in right here on The Spin, all lines prevented, of course, by Bet Online. For my man Gabe Ikard, I'm Drew Butler. Allie, we'll throw it back to you.
All right, well, thank you so much to Drew Butler and Gabe Ikard. Now, don't go anywhere. Drew will be back with us in just a minute to take a look at the NFL. But first, I've got to remind you that our odds here on Sports Insiders The Spin are provided by BetOnline, the world's most trusted sports betting platform. So with NBA, NHL, college basketball all in full swing, and of course, college and NFL football, there's a lot going on, and there's no place better than BetOnline to get in on all the awesome action. So head on over and check them out today. And speaking of awesome action, it's another big week in the NFL, including a little sibling rivalry as the Harbaugh boys go at it on Monday night. So here now to break it down for us, Drew Butler, Anthony Becht, and Jonathan Casillas. Welcome, guys.
What's up, Allie? Glad to be back with you. Drew Butler here, joined alongside my guys, Anthony Becht and Jonathan Casillas, taking a look at Week 12 of the NFL season. Guys, it's crazy to think Thanksgiving, just a short week away. It's the best time of the year, no doubt about it. Let's start with a huge NFC matchup. The San Francisco 49ers are heading to Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. 4:25 p.m. Eastern kick over on Fox. The Packers are 2.5-point favorites. Anthony, this total is 47.5.
Yeah, listen, two teams, obviously with the Packers, big win against the Chicago team, a valiant effort versus the defense, very close game, probably very close to losing that game as well. And you look at the 49ers, just, offensively, man, they're not really clicking as much. They're not making a lot of critical mistakes. You look at Deebo Samuel, he's not really involved as much. Juwan Jennings has been kind of the lead receiver with this football team. Ayuk obviously not being there. It's just a weird dynamic. But McCaffrey's starting to pick up steam a little bit. 79 yards last week. But in that loss, 159 yards by Brock Purdy. So offensively, as good as a play caller, as good as they are at home, they couldn't really find a way to get past the Seattle defense that was okay. When I watched the Packers game, guys, on the other side, they were in the red zone several times. They lost on downs, on 4 downs. They only get a field goal. Then they get an interception. Then they had some plays in the passing game that were, man, like I wouldn't even say they're 50-50 catches that Watson made. They're almost like 30-70 catches. But they made the plays, right? So how do you gauge that? I think the biggest thing that came out of that game is they only had the ball for 43 plays on offense. So, again, I just think that may be a little bit of a problem in this game. I think this game is going to be close. It's always tough to go to Green Bay. I got to take the road dog here. I'm going to take the 49ers. I think they bounce back here. I think it is going to be close, but I think they win this game. It's going to be tight. And I just didn't see enough dominance out of the Packers after squeaking that win out. I just think the 49ers, look, they need to pick up steam here. And I think this is an opportunity for them to play a good team and bounce back quick.
Yeah, Anthony, both of these teams coming off of tough divisional games, 49ers beating the Seattle Seahawks, and on the other side of it, the Packers beating the Bears, the other team that they own in the NFL. Look, the 49ers getting CMC back. He's, figuring out his way back with this offense. Juwan Jennings has emerged as one of the best receivers for them. Deebo Samuel is trying to get involved. Kittle trying to get involved. Look, if they can figure out how to implement CMC, the 49ers are that team chasing that divisional playoff game right now. Also, the Packers, too. Jordan Love is leading the league in interceptions. If they can figure out a way to turn him over at home, I think they'll be able to keep the game close. So I'm going to take the points to go with the 49ers as a road dog this game.
Interesting matchup here for sure. And probably the most concerning thing for the 49ers and all San Francisco fans is that the injuries are continuing to mount. Early this week, Brock Purdy ends up on the injury list as well with, I believe, some shoulder soreness. And that's in addition to Nick Bosa, George Kittle, Trent Williams, all being listed as questionable. Both of these teams 4-6 against the spread so far this season. And Lambeau is not an easy place to play, but the weather forecast does look pretty favorable, so it shouldn't be anything out of the ordinary for the 49ers coming in from the Bay Area. I think this number is what's most intriguing. On the look-ahead line, San Francisco was a favorite. They lose at home to the Seahawks. Then the line flips, and the Packers become a short favorite at home. Less than a field goal. I think this is a great bounce-back spot for the Packers on offense. Green Bay should be able to produce enough to cover the number here. Jordan Love cannot turn the ball over as much as he has been in the past. They should have covered against the Bears last week. Turnovers bit them. They blocked that field goal late. They get out with a victory. I like the Packers here. Matt LaFleur, a little bit of revenge for that playoff loss to Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers just a season ago. So I'll lay the 2.5 with Green Bay. Let's take a look at Sunday Night Football. This is a great NFC matchup. The Philadelphia Eagles heading out west to take on the Los Angeles Rams, 8:20 p.m. kickoff Eastern time over on NBC. The Eagles are 3-point road favorites. Anthony, this total is at 50 points.
Yeah, look, when you watch the Eagles, man, they've kind of flipped their mode where they were really balanced. Now I just feel like this is a Saquon Barkley show. He's potential MVP of the league. Yeah, just a tremendous pickup for both for the Eagles in the sense that 228 yards rushings last week and the win against a divisional opponent. That was a huge win. I mean, Jaden Daniels obviously had his opportunities. It was close. Eagles struggled in the red zone. They were still able to get through. They missed 2 field goals, but a reliable kicker. Drew, I got to make that point. That seemed like a weird week for kickers and some of the good ones in the league. But on the other side, man, all cylinders seemed like they were firing for the Rams. You watch their offense. You see Stafford throw 4 touchdowns. Kupp is just guy that's uncoverable, continues to get stronger and better every single week. Puka, again, always open. I mean, the guy, he doesn't look like the fastest, but he gets separation. They're great play designs, and they're on it, right? And then defensively, the young defensive tackles. I keep talking about this, but Fisk, 2 sacks last week versus another guy. These guys have amped up their game and really filled that void with Aaron Donald. And when you look at that, I just think, to me, they're the trending team right now.
Yeah.
I think there may be some lay back with the Eagles. They won, but they didn't win great, and now they got to travel. Look, I'm all over the Rams on this one, man. I think they're going to come in. I think they're going to play well. I think offensively they got a much better passing game. And if for some reason the Eagles can't keep this game balanced enough, now they got to lean on Hurts. And I just think he's struggling. He's not been at his best, and I don't know if he can produce the passing yards needed to potentially win a game if they're down 10 points or more.
Yeah, I hear you. Look, the Eagles, they had a slow start last week against the Commanders on that Thursday night football game. They only scored the last 3 rushing touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Saquon's running the ball very well. Jalen Hurts, I agree with you. He's not playing like we've seen him a couple years ago, where he's throwing the ball efficiently down the field off the run game. The run game is still there, but he's just not throwing the ball that well to some of these great receivers that they have, which they do. They have 2 dynamic wide receivers. On the other side, they got 2 dynamic wide receivers with Matthew Stafford throwing for 4 touchdowns. Yeah. Cooper Kupp had 2 touchdowns last week. He looks great coming back into the lineup, this last month or so for the Rams. And look, when you look at the Rams, I think what you said earlier, Anthony, about their defense, you got a couple of guys that's playing some really good football. Those D tackles, Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk, with 5 sacks apiece. Byron Turner has had a sack the last 4 games. Now, if the Rams can keep it close, and if they can get a lead on this team, I think late in this game, I think they can get away with this W. Look, the Rams, they're trying to get themselves in position to get in position for the playoffs. This is that time right now where teams are trying to do that. I think Rams have enough of Matthew Stafford in his defense. So give me the points for the home dog Rams.
Yeah, the Eagles are 6-0 straight up, guys, since their bye week, and they're coming off that mini bye week, as people are calling it now, after that huge victory against the division leading at the time Commanders on Thursday night a week ago. Now the Eagles have command in the NFC East, and the Rams have new life on offense with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua being back in the lineup. Matthew Stafford, his creature comforts there. You're exactly right, Anthony. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, those guys run routes, and I don't know how they do it, but they are consistently open. And you see Stafford getting more and more confident week in and week out, being able to deliver the ball downfield. I expect Matthew to have a solid game against this Philly defense as well. There is some youth in the Philadelphia secondary that I think the Rams, Sean McVay in particular, will be able to go after. That Rams defense, too. I mean, rookie Jared Verse, he is an absolute stud. They're playing at a high level, and they create a lot of havoc that could affect Jalen Hurts as well. You cannot discount Saquon Barkley, though. Anthony, you mentioned it. The guy is an absolute stud, playing at an MVP level right now. Yes, the Eagles are trending in the right direction, but they're prone to playing pretty close games. System play for me. You guys know where I'm going. Primetime home underdog. Give me the Rams +3. All right, let's finish up on Monday Night Football. Allie mentioned it. Little sibling rivalry here. It's the Harbaugh Bowl. The Baltimore Ravens heading out to SoFi to take on the Los Angeles Chargers, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time kick over on ABC. The Ravens are 3-point road favorites. Anthony, 50.5 is your total.
Yeah, the bloodlines run hard here, man. 2 stud coaches. I mean, getting it done. Let's start with the Ravens. Man, I'll tell you, 2 defenses last week versus Steelers, and it showed up. I was actually really surprised at the fact that Lamar Jackson struggled so much in the passing game. And it seemed like that's what offensively they wanted to start that game off passing the game. And he just was not a very good, effective passer throughout. Derrick Henry's numbers were down. His carries were down. They didn't want to lead with the horse, and they paid the price. And they missed 2 field goals. Tucker, again, a guy that knocks them always in. That was a big deal because in this game, they only gave up 6 field goals last week. So, again, you look at their defense. When I watch the Ravens defense, they kind of make you puke in between the 20s, but they really do hunker down in the red zone. And I think that's huge when you're talking about, hey, you got Lamar Jackson, you got all these guys, you can make some things happen. It just didn't show up last week. Now, if they were home this week, I think the offense would bounce back. I just think it's a little bit of an issue now when they got to go back home and come back to the West Coast and figure out, okay, can we get this fixed? Can we get this offense going? And then, bam, you look at the Chargers, man. I talked about them last week. I love this team, man. Nobody wants to talk about them. They continue to win. They're 7-3. Herbert was fantastic early in this game. They were dominating the Bengals in this game early, 24-6. Everything was going right. All of a sudden, Burrow and this offense has to pass every single down. They got themselves back in the game. But between Herbert's legs, his arm, Quentin Johnston, a guy that's kind of been up and down early in his career, he's becoming a big weapon. He's gaining confidence. McConkey looks like he's going to be the next Cooper Kupp, the way he runs routes. So it's like, okay, where do I see this? I mean, you're going on the West Coast. Who's the better team right now? I just think the Chargers are. So I love those. I'm going to take those points. I'm going to take the Chargers all day in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, Baltimore, man, every single week or any week you tune into them, they look like the best, especially offensive team in the NFL, with Lamar Jackson doing this thing. Look, this team, they played the Steelers last week. I don't think you can look at that game and get the whole microcosm what the Ravens really is, because they don't play that well against. I don't know what it is with the Steelers, but Lamar Jackson just doesn't play well against them. I don't think he's going to have that type of game against the Chargers. But when you look at the Chargers, you look at them offensively with Dobbins doing his thing on the ground, and then Herbert, one of the elite talent arms, in the whole NFL. But for me, I look at the defense, the league leading defense, led by Khalil Mack and Derwin James. These guys learned how to stop the run with only a light box, 6 guys in the box, 7 guys in the box. Now, if you can do that against Baltimore, which is almost impossible with King Henry running that football and Lamar Jackson being a threat on the ground, but if they can do that against this team, this Baltimore team that is leading the league in rushing, that's every single week is going to hit you in your mouth. If they can do that, which I think they can, I don't even think this game is going to be close. I think the Chargers can win big at home against a very talented Baltimore Ravens team.
All right, Anthony, you were spot on a week ago, giving the Chargers a ton of love. They showed up in a big way. They're like the silent killers out there in L.A. Still nobody giving them a ton of respect. They're riding now a 4-game win streak, and that defense is playing at an extremely high level to complement Justin Herbert and that offense as well. However, they only have 1 win on the season against a team with a winning record. And when you look at the Ravens coming off that bad loss at Pittsburgh, Jonathan, you're exactly right. Lamar Jackson always struggles in Pittsburgh for whatever reason. The offense was limited. They lose that game 18-16 after not even allowing a touchdown. I have it right here in my notes. The questions are starting to mount around Ravens kicker Justin Tucker, one of the best of all time, and he keeps missing them, which to me brings this line into serious question. But the other Justin Herbert, Chargers quarterback, only 1 interception on the entire season. Remarkable up to this point. 7 touchdowns, no interceptions amid this 4-game win streak. Look, the Chargers have been extremely solid, but I think the Ravens are going to be in a desperate spot here. Expect the Ravens offense to bounce back in prime time. I'm going to lay the 3 points on the road, going against my system there. No primetime home underdog for me in this one. Baltimore covers 3 against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Yeah, it's week 12 of the NFL. Thanksgiving is next week. To keep it locked in right here on The Spin. All lines provided by Bet Online. For my guys, Anthony and Jonathan, I'm Drew Butler. Allie, we'll throw it back to you.
Wow, thank you so much, guys. Yeah, I'm very excited for all of that action as well. Cannot wait to see what goes down in that game. But thank you as well for all of your incredible insight. You guys are the best. Drew Butler, Anthony Becht, and Jonathan Casillas. Well, another reminder, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and #1 source for everything football, not to mention everything in sports. So head on over to BetOnline to get in on all the action when you can. All right, my friends, that is all I have for you today. Enjoy the great weekend of football and all the sports action. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on Sports Insiders The Spin.